Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to work on plank pose and we'll be heading in the direction of Chaturanga Dandasana, which translates as the four-limbed staff pose. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you're notified when a new video is available. We'll start on the hands and knees. If you establish your hands shoulder width apart, the shoulders vertically top the wrists, and before we go to straighten the legs, notice already, what are you doing in this mid-body? Are you allowing the lumbar spine to collapse and therefore being weak here in the abdomen? Can you draw the navel up towards the spine already so that you're engaging the abdominal muscles and keeping the lumbar spine long and broad? Maintain that as we step one leg back, and just notice before we step that second leg back, have you gone into that lumbar lordosis? Can you direct your tailbone to your heel and grip the abdominal muscles, draw the navel up towards the spine as you then step back with your second leg? The tendency can often be to have the buttocks sticking up and the lower back strongly arched, or it could be to have the hips dropped excessively. So if need be, come back onto the knees and once more re-establish that feeling of engaging abdominal muscles firmly up towards the spine. Step one leg back, maintain that grip, and draw your tailbone towards the heel. Then, as you step the second leg back, hip width feet, engage the navel to the spine, and as you're feeding the arms down into the floor, you're pushing away from the floor, but not so much that you're rounding the upper back. Can you move the upper sternum forward? Upper breastbone forward as you look forward. Now let's bend the knees, come down, have a rest for a moment. And as we go again, I want to bring your attention to the thoracic spine between the shoulder blades. Sometimes when we come into this pose, and I'll just keep the knees down for the purpose of demonstrating, the thoracic spine collapses down, and it's as if we're letting the arms lift up towards the ceiling, but the torso drop down towards the floor. So we really need to feed the arms down into the floor as you push the hands down and get the sense of broadening the shoulder blades. So not collapsing, broadening the shoulder blades. So you're filling up the space between the shoulder blades, but you're not shrinking the chest. Upper sternum forward, collarbones broad, engage the abdominals, navel to spine, step one, leg back, tailbone to that heel. Keep the navel gripping to the spine, other leg back, upper sternum forward. Now internally rotate your thighs. So the inner thighs roll up towards the ceiling. Press your thighs up towards the ceiling, but press the buttocks down towards the floor as you keep gripping the navel to the spine. Outer shoulders roll back towards your hips. Then bend your knees, come down, have a rest in a supported variation of pose of the child. So your forehead is supported on your forearms as you relax the arms and shoulders, and likewise relax the legs, the abdomen, the hips. Now come to sit up, and this time we're going to work towards bending the elbows. So we're maintaining that plank expression, the spine and the legs in the same line, but taking the diagonal down to horizontal. Now what can be really helpful is using a belt just above the elbow creases, and my preference is to use a stretchy strap. So here I've got a a belt, a strap that has some stretch to it. It's quite a strong elastic. And if you don't have anything like this, then clearly you can work with a standard yoga belt. You just need to make sure you have enough give in the belt to accommodate the pose. So we do want perhaps just a little wider than shoulder width. And as we put that just above the elbow creases, we bring the arms back towards the sides of the body, and we find that the belt presses into the lower ribs. That's going to be the expression when we come to Chaturanga Dandasana. So let's place our hands. We're on hands and knees, and we've got the strap just above the elbow creases. If it goes any higher, it's likely to impede your chest. It's likely to press into your chest, and if you're a woman, it'll be pressing in against your breasts. Not so comfortable. So have it down low. Press into the palms. Suction the entire disc of each palm into the floor, particularly work the knuckles of the index fingers down. Then as you engage the abdominal muscles, step one leg back. Draw your tailbone towards that heel. Step the other leg back. Go on pressing the knuckles of the index fingers down and feel the shoulders vertically top the wrists. When we bend the elbows, we want to press forward more. So feel as if someone's pressing on your heels, pushing you forward to bend the elbows and bring your lower ribs onto the belt. Chest comes down parallel to the floor. Then resist the shoulder tips away from the floor and go on engaging the abdominal muscles, navel to spine. Then you can bend the knees to the floor, straighten the arms to come out of the pose and have a breather. What I sometimes see when I'm teaching this pose is that students don't let their weight come forward enough, and they get stuck here with the strap on their chest, and it's hard to come down lower. So remember that as we're intending to come down parallel to the floor, that we want the body to move forward a little. And consider that the positioning of the arms is such that the elbow is at a right angle. Forearm will be perpendicular to the floor, upper arm parallel to the floor. So let's see if we can manage that. We'll use our belt again. Again, make sure it's on your ribs, not your chest. Come onto your hands, broaden the palms, press the knuckles down, and then come back into your straight arm plank, tailbone to your heels, grip the navel to the spine, upper sternum forward. Then press forward, contract your calf muscles as you press forward and bring your chest down, but your ribs onto your strap. Restrain the shoulder tips away from the floor and watch you're not sticking the buttocks up. Tailbone in. So like Tadasana, a mountain pose, press your thighs up away from the floor, but press your buttocks forward and down towards the floor. Then knees to the floor, straighten your arms, come up and have a rest for a moment. Now we have another way of working with support. So we'd say the strap is one level of support. We can use a bolster underneath the front body. So it's supporting the chest, the ribs, the abdomen, the thighs, and we can potentially sustain the pose and work on some of the finer points, which maybe we can't if we're just trying to hold with our own strength. Let's come on to the hands. So you bring the hands in line with the front edge of your bolster. Come into straight arm plank. And then as you bend your elbows, again, press the body forward and bring your body down onto the bolster. So you'll feel the ribs are supported, the pelvis and the thighs supported, And can you set yourself, if you look at your hands, your forearms, your upper arms, maybe you need to walk your hands back a little more so that you're creating that right angle in the elbows. Upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular to the floor. So there's this resistance of the shoulder tips, the very top of the upper arm bone, away from the floor. And so as you're maintaining that, squeeze the upper arms against the side body, and then draw your tailbone towards the heels as if you're trying to press the pubis more into the bolster. Then can you internally rotate your thighs? Inner thighs roll up towards the ceiling. So as you're drawing your tailbone towards the heels, engage the abdominals. Don't just rely on the belly settling down into the bolster. Can you engage the abdominals? As if you're trying to pull the belly away from the bolster. Okay, let's release. Knees can come onto the floor. We'll come back. Have a rest for a moment. Using the bolster is one way of offering the body support while we're fine-tuning some of our technique. Now, there is another way of approaching support, and that is using a brick underneath the thighs. We'll use what I call a blade-shaped brick. So we've got the blade edge of the brick facing up, and the length of the brick is going across the width of the mat. This will be underneath the upper thighs. So to give you an idea, it will be sitting here, just below the pubis, under the upper thighs, as we come into our plank. Now, the way to come into this is either from the straight arm plank descending, although we may not quite have the brick in the right spot. So let's start by actually lying on the floor. If we settle the upper thighs on our brick, just below the pubis, bring your chest onto the floor for a moment. Tuck your toes under, press the shins up, and with the hands back in line with your lower ribs, push away from the floor, shoulder tips resist away from the floor, and really strongly direct your tailbone to your heels. Grip the navel to the spine. Then bend your knees to the floor, straighten your arms, pull back to have a moment of reprieve. And then we'll try coming into it from our straight arm plank. So place your hands, straighten the legs, grip the navel to the spine. Now as you bend your elbows, press your weight forward and let the upper thighs come onto your brick. Stay strong in the arms, resist the shoulders away from the floor. Go on directing your tailbone to your heels, engaging the navel up towards your spine. Upper sternum forward, and it might help you to look forward. Then knees to the floor, straighten your arms, and let's come to have a rest. Relax your arms. So they're just a few tools that we can use to support our practice of Chaturanga Dandasana, the four-limbed staff pose. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.